Welcome to Mike Ferry TV and welcome to the week of December 3rd through December 9th. It's getting more exciting for you because the pressure is on to perform, the pressure is on to produce. We are having just about 10 to 11,000 viewers per week now watching this particular series, which is kind of exciting because I think, as some of you know, it's probably 3 and 4 times that many because a lot of brokers are using this training each week for their 30, 40 people. So we're excited about that. We've had a lot of very interesting responses to this series called 100 Plus Thoughts on Prospecting Lead Follow-Up. And I get responses in the mail, emails, etc. And they're things like this. Mike, I think you're wrong. I don't do what you say. I don't believe in it. So I always correspond back and I'll say, well, how much time do you spend actually prospecting? And the answer is, well, I don't prospect. I don't believe in it. And it's so interesting to me that so many of the people that want to argue with me about this concept of prospecting are people that never prospect. It goes back to when, if you remember this, when that great do not call law was passed several years ago. And I made a statement because, agents were all up in arms. Oh my gosh, we can't call anybody and cold calling's been banned and we're all going to go to jail and we're going to get fined $11,000 and all the rest of the nonsense that real estate people, percolate, circulate, and create to avoid having to do the job they have to do. And as I said to a lot of people during that particular period of time, is that law actually was perfect. The do not call law was perfect, in my opinion, because it kept all the ones that were never going to make any calls from making any calls. And I think, as you and I both know, if you just follow the law and you understand the law, you can make as many calls as you want. Guys and gals, if you're not going to prospect, don't argue with me. Go argue with the guy in the mirror. Go argue with the gal in the mirror. If you're not going to prospect, don't tell me your production's not good. A couple of weeks ago, I did a little 2-day action workshop, and one of the agents in the workshop walked up and wanted to get in a battle with me about productivity and prospecting. And it was so much fun because I sat and listened to this lady talk, and she was ranting and raving about how wrong I was and how right she was. And finally, after 5 or 6 minutes, now this was in November, okay? And after 5 or 6 minutes, I said, well, I have to ask you a question. How many actual sales have you had this year? And she said, well, that's not the point. I said, well, okay, but how many sales have you had this year? And she finally said, well, I've had 3. I said, and you're arguing with me about productivity? You've had 3 sales? I said, quite honestly, your broker should fire you. That's what should be done. But it's interesting because over the course of all these messages I'm giving you, if you can't figure out that the only way a salesperson in any business, real estate is a business, is going to develop business is through talking to people. Now, I've had many emails from some of you guys and gals watching. Mike, I'd rather do it by blogging. I'd rather do it by tweeting. I'd rather do it by texting. I'd rather do it by emailing. I'd rather do it by anything but having to talk to people. Remember, we're in the people and communication business. And if we forget that, we're in trouble. So how'd you do last week? Did you set the 2 appointments we asked you to get done? Did you get a contract signed? If yes, of course, congratulations. If no, don't give up. Keep practicing the scripts, keep role-playing, and keep doing your job. So let's look now. We're already 2.64 of the 100 thoughts, and this is probably the hardest one. Simply this: start stripping away today the excuses you have for not doing your job in prospecting every day. See, what is your excuse? What is it that keeps you from doing your job? You see, everybody has excuses for everything. Everybody always has a story. And I can't even tell you how many hundreds of thousands of times people walk up to me and say, Mike, I need to tell you my story as to why I can't do what you say. I don't want to hear your story. I want to see your results. I want to see what you've done. I want to see what you're doing today, what actions you're taking, what activities you're involved in. I don't want to hear your story. You tell yourself a story enough that keeps you from being productive. What is your number one excuse? You're going to say things like, well, I can't handle rejection. Come on, grow up. And give yourself a break here. You got to get over this kind of thinking if you want to progress. Point number 65, somebody said to me one time that going to the gym and exercising is very much like prospecting. It's not always a lot of fun while you're doing it, but you feel so much better after you're finished. It's a great little thought to think about. I know that nobody likes having to do things they're not comfortable with, But I also know that when you do things you're not comfortable with, the results you get are out of proportion to the effort you put in. You and I both know that once you finish prospecting, you look backwards, you've made 30 contacts, 20 contacts, 10 contacts, you spend an hour, a couple hours prospecting, you feel better about who you are as a salesperson. So let's think about it this way. I'm always going to feel better at the end, probably better than I do at the beginning. Point number 66, is your prospecting both predictable and duplicatable? You know, I started talking about those two words probably in about 1980. And here we are at the end of 2012, and the majority of most people, and we're talking about now 32 years later, most people can't figure out what I refer to by duplicatable and predictable. If I'm going to do an activity that leads me to this result, is that activity going to allow me to duplicate that same result time and time again? If the answer is no, then I shouldn't be involved in that activity. So watch this example. A salesperson, you hold an open house. A buyer comes into the open house on Sunday and actually buys the house that you're holding open. Now, you and I both know you have a better chance of winning the lottery than that actually happening again. So is that fact that they bought that house duplicatable? And the answer is, you and I know it, is no. So therefore, the activity of open house does not lead to a duplicatable result, which is why I tell people not to hold open house. Is it predictable? Now watch, you and I know if you call on 5 for sale by owners per day and follow the scripts we give, we know that 2 of those by owners will let you come to the house and make a presentation. That's very predictable. We know that if you make X number of just listed, just sold phone calls or doors, you're going to get a certain response. It's very predictable. Let's make sure that everything we do from now to the end of this year, we only have a month left in December. Let's make sure that every activity we can duplicate the result and predict the result. And then we want to look at point 67, when all else fails. Remember that prospecting is nothing more than a numbers game. And I know that bothers some of you because some of you say, well, I talk to 3 people a day. Now, wait a minute. You're working from 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning till 5:30, 5 o'clock at night. You're working 7, 8, 9 hours a day, and you talk to 3 people? I mean, come on. What in the world are you doing all day long? Well, I'm on Facebook. Well, what are you doing on Facebook? That's not communication. Well, I'm corresponding. You know, I'm sending out a picture of a listing, you know, that I'm going to get to all these people. Watch, guys and gals, we're in the people and communication business. You talk to 3 people a day, your chances of succeeding are between none and less than none. It's a numbers game, that's all it is. When we started this series we're doing right now with you, I think we had 6,000 or 7,000 the first week. We got up to about 12,000 the third or fourth week, and now we're averaging about 10 to 11,000 per week. It's just numbers. Somebody in this group that's watching is going to take what I say and use it. It's just numbers. I think we said there's about 1,000 people registered to win a ticket to the one-on-one retreat. It's just numbers. 10% of you are doing what we say. Think about that, just numbers. Then I wrote down number 68. Every day, I must generate 1 hot lead from somebody that wants to buy or sell within 7 days. Isn't it a great goal to have as a prospecting goal, finding somebody every day? So let me ask you a question. If your broker said to you, either you find 1 good lead today, or I'm going to fire you and your license is going to be suspended for a year, could you find somebody that wants to buy or sell real estate today? And you know and I know the answer is yes. So why not make it simple? Simple goal. 1 hot lead per day. But watch how I tie that into point number 69. Let's develop a group of 10 to 20 hot leads and then follow up on them every single day. You see, if I set a goal to develop 1 hot lead a day and I'm working 20 days a month, that's 20 hot leads. And of those 20 hot leads, if I actually follow up every single day, I'm going to, sometimes in spite of myself, get listing appointments, and as a result of that, I'm going to get listings taken. I wrote down a simple thought. When you get 10 to 20 hot leads, you're going to be doing a lot of follow-up on them every day. But don't stop following up on them. Because they are hot on Monday, and cool on Wednesday doesn't mean you don't follow up again on Friday. Point number 7, remember the purpose of prospecting is to find people who are going to make a decision to buy or sell now. Now, if I had all of you in front of me in a seminar, I would say to you, how many want to make more deals now? And you'd all raise your hands. I'd say, well, how do you expect that to happen if you're not in the process of prospecting every day? See, the purpose of prospecting is to find somebody. Because, okay, let's take a different approach. Take a map, put a little X where your office is. Draw a circle 5 miles around your office. Will anybody today, within 5 miles of your office, list their home for sale? Now, you and I know the answer is yes. Are they going to call you? We know the answer is no. Are you going to call them? And if the answer is no, guess what? Somebody else gets the listing. And point number 71, the purpose of lead follow-up is to be talking to the people at the right time or be there at the right time when the decision to list is going to be made. Think about it. This is something we have to do every day, lead follow-up. If we sit on our leads, if we let them sit there for days and weeks, we don't know what that moment of truth is when they're actually going to say, now's the time to get the property on the market. So the lead follow-up is like the prospecting. It has to be done every day. And point 72, the most important step in lead follow-up is the decision while prospecting to keep or reject a particular lead. Now listen carefully. The most important step in lead follow-up is the decision while prospecting to keep or reject a lead. See, well, Mike, yeah, I'm thinking I might want to sell my home in the next 12 months. Oh boy, I got a lead. Well, now, do you really have a lead? I'm thinking to do something in 12 months. Well, the most important decision in prospecting is deciding to keep or reject a lead. If you haven't defined what a good quality lead is for you yet, let's make that decision. Now, every week I give you a homework assignment. Now listen carefully. Let's this week see how many of the 10 to 20 hot leads we can actually generate and follow up on this week. Now remember, everything you're going to do in December, this month, is going to pay off in January and February. So how many hot leads can you develop right now which will bring you income in January and February? To help you do this, I'm going to ask you to go online and download 10 good reasons to list your homes during the holiday season. We have a great report for you. Just look at the Mike Ferry TV page and click that simple thought, 10 good reasons to list your home during the holiday season. It's right there for you. Use it as a listing tool. Now, a couple of reminders. Make sure you schedule the schedule you have reflects the goals you've set during the holiday season. 3 hours a day of prospecting. Got to remember that. Have to do it every single day. Track your numbers. Don't stop tracking your numbers. Qualify every appointment, and make sure that 1,000 of you have your travel arrangements made for San Diego, January 21 to 23 at the Manchester Grand Hyatt. I'm looking forward to really meeting a lot of you. The last 2 years, we've had 300 to 400 people, because of our prospecting challenge, be in San Diego. It's a huge win for you, huge win for your clients, and a huge win for us. Talk to you next week.